The vast, sleek craft glided silently through the void of space, its exotic, angular design a testament to the technological prowess of its alien creators. On board, the crew of the reconnaissance vessel buzzed with a mixture of excitement and trepidation as they neared their target, the unassuming blue-green planet known as Earth. "We are within sensor range of the primitive human civilization," announced Sci-Fi, the expedition's lead navigator. "Preliminary scans indicate the presence of advanced technology, as well as signs of organized military forces." Krozeth, the mission commander, nodded thoughtfully. "Interesting. The reports we received suggested these humans were a relatively young and underdeveloped species, yet their technological progress appears to have exceeded our expectations. Should we proceed with first contact protocols?" Sci-Fi inquired. "We could attempt to establish diplomatic relations and assess their willingness to submit to our authority." Krozeth considered the question for a moment, his tentacles twitching with contemplation. "Yes, let us make our presence known, but maintain a strong defensive posture. These humans may prove more resilient than anticipated." With that, the alien vessel maneuvered closer to the planet, its powerful engines casting a faint glow against the backdrop of the stars. Sci-Fi hailed the dominant human government, transmitting a message of peaceful intent and a demand for immediate surrender. On the other side of the galaxy, in the bustling command center of the United States Strategic Command, Colonel Emily Walters frowned as the alien transmission was decoded and displayed on the central holotable. She had been anticipating this moment for weeks, ever since the first reports of unidentified objects entering the solar system. "Patch me through to the President," Walters ordered, her steely gaze fixed on the alien communique. "We have a situation that requires his immediate attention." Within minutes, the weathered face of the President appeared on the screen, his brow furrowed with concern. "Colonel Walters, your report indicates that we are facing an unprecedented threat. What is the status of the situation?" "Sir, we have made contact with an unknown alien species," Walters explained, her voice calm and measured. "They are demanding our unconditional surrender and the subjugation of the human race under their authority." The President's expression darkened. "Unacceptable. The United States will not bow to any extraterrestrial power, no matter their technological advantage. What are our options?" Walters gestured to the holotable, where a detailed analysis of the alien vessel's capabilities was displayed. "Based on our initial assessment, their ship is significantly more advanced than anything in our current arsenal. However, we have been preparing for this eventuality. I recommend we respond with a show of force, to demonstrate our willingness to defend our sovereignty at all costs." The President considered the proposal, then nodded decisively. "Do it. Mobilize our military assets and let these aliens know that humanity will not be conquered without a fight." "Understood, sir." Walters turned to her subordinates, her voice ringing with authority. "Initiate emergency protocol, Omega-1. Deploy the Ares Squadron and prepare to engage the hostile vessel. We will not surrender, not to these aliens or anyone else." As the command center erupted into a flurry of activity, Walters took a deep breath, steeling herself for the impending confrontation. She had dedicated her life to protecting the United States and its people, and she would be damned if she would let some arrogant extraterrestrials waltz in and claim dominion over her home. Across the globe, sirens blared, and military forces scrambled to their stations. The world held its collective breath, bracing for the first shots to be fired in a conflict that would determine the fate of humanity. Krozeth watched the humans' response with a mix of surprise and discomfort. They are mobilizing their military assets. Apparently, they do not intend to surrender peacefully. Sci-Fi's tentacles twitched anxiously. "Should we initiate a full-scale assault, Commander? We could crush their primitive defenses with ease." Krozeth paused, his eyes narrowing as he contemplated the situation. "No. We will respond with a show of force, but refrain from using lethal measures. I wish to understand these humans better before we resort to such drastic measures. Prepare the main weapons array, but do not fire unless provoked." As the alien vessel powered up its formidable arsenal, the fate of two civilizations hung in the balance, neither side fully aware of the trials that awaited them. The skies over the United States Capitol crackled with energy as the Ares squadron of experimental fighter jets streaked towards the alien vessel. Piloted by the most skilled aviators in the U.S. military, the sleek, angular craft carried an array of advanced weaponry, a clear signal that humanity would not surrender without a fight. Colonel Emily Walters watched the unfolding events with a mix of trepidation and resolve. She had spent years preparing for this moment, running countless simulations and honing the capabilities of her forces. But the true test was now at hand, and the fate of the human race hung in the balance. All Ares units, weapons free, Walters barked into the radio. Engage the hostile target and neutralize any threats. Remember, we need to send a clear message. Earth is not to be trifled with. The pilots of the Ares squadron acknowledged the order, their faces set with grim determination as they unleashed a barrage of missiles and laser-guided munitions towards the alien craft. The alien vessel's defensive systems sprang to life, deflecting the initial salvo with an effortless display of technological superiority. Crozath observed the humans counterattack with a mixture of surprise and disdain. Their primitive weapons are no match for our shielding. Prepare to retaliate and demonstrate the true power of our civilization. Xyloph's tentacles danced across the control consoles, and the alien vessel's main cannon charged, its energy building to a devastating crescendo. Commander, we are ready to return fire. Shall I commence the bombardment? Crozath hesitated, his eyes narrowing thoughtfully. No. Let us see how the humans respond to a show of force. Disable their aircraft, but avoid lethal measures if possible. The alien vessel's cannon unleashed a pulse of concentrated energy, cutting through the atmosphere with blinding speed. The Ares fighters scattered, narrowly avoiding the devastating blast. But one of the jets, its wing badly damaged, spiraled out of control, crashing into the ground in a fiery explosion. Colonel Walters gritted her teeth, her knuckles whitening as she gripped the edge of the holotable. Damn it. Pilot Donovan is down. All remaining Ares units, regroup and prepare for a second attack run. The surviving pilots maneuvered their jets, priming their weapons for another assault. But before they could open fire, the alien vessel discharged a series of energy pulses, disabling the Ares fighters one by one, forcing them to make emergency landings. Crozath observed the engagement with a growing sense of unease. The humans are proving to be more resilient than I anticipated. Their technology, while primitive, is formidable. And their pilots display a level of skill and determination that is unsettling. Xyloph's tentacles twitched nervously. Should we not simply destroy them and assert our dominance? Clearly, they are in no position to challenge us. Crozath shook his head, his gaze fixed on the crippled human aircraft. No, there is something about these humans that warrants further study. Their determination, their adaptability. It is unlike anything we have encountered. We must understand them better before we act rashly. As the alien vessel hovered ominously over the Capitol, the human forces regrouped, their resolve hardened by the loss of one of their own. Colonel Walters knew that the true test was yet to come, and that the fate of humanity rested on her ability to outsmart and outmaneuver their enigmatic adversaries. "This is only the beginning," she muttered, her eyes narrowing as she studied the alien craft. "Humanity is not going down without a fight." The stage was set for a prolonged and increasingly brutal confrontation, as the humans and aliens alike grappled with the realization that their assumptions about each other were woefully inadequate. The true nature of human resilience and the aliens' technological superiority would soon be put to the ultimate test. The aftermath of the failed Ares squadron assault left the human forces reeling, but not defeated. Colonel Emily Walters convened an emergency meeting with the President and other key military and political leaders, determined to formulate a new strategy to confront the alien invaders. "Gentlemen, the situation is dire, but not hopeless," Walters began, her gaze sweeping across the somber faces in the room. Our initial engagement has proven that these aliens possess technology far beyond our current capabilities. However, we have also seen that our pilots are more than capable of holding their own against these extraterrestrial threats. The President nodded solemnly. Colonel, your men fought bravely, but we lost one of our best pilots. We cannot afford another engagement that results in such heavy casualties. What do you propose? Walters paused, her eyes narrowing in concentration. Sir, I believe our best course of action is to shift to a defensive posture for the time being. We need to buy time to study the alien technology, assess their weaknesses, and develop countermeasures. In the meantime, we must also engage in diplomatic negotiations to see if we can reach a non-violent resolution to this conflict. The President's brow furrowed with uncertainty. Diplomacy. After they've already demonstrated their willingness to use force against us, do you really believe they will be open to negotiations? I do, sir, Walters replied, her voice calm and assured. These aliens, for all their technological superiority, have shown a hesitation to use lethal force against us. There is something about the human spirit, our determination and adaptability, that has given them pause. If we can appeal to their curiosity, their desire to understand us better, perhaps we can find a peaceful way forward. The President considered her words, then nodded slowly. Very well, Colonel. Initiate diplomatic overtures, but maintain a state of high alert. If these aliens prove unwilling to negotiate in good faith, then we will have no choice but to respond with the full force of our military might. Walters saluted, her expression grim but resolute. Understood, sir. I will personally lead the diplomatic team and do everything in my power to avoid an all-out war. Humanity's future may depend on it. As the meeting concluded, Walters turned her attention to the alien vessel, which still hovered ominously over the capital. She knew that the aliens would be closely monitoring their every move, and that any misstep could have catastrophic consequences. Aboard the alien craft, Crozeth and Psyloth observed the humans' response with a mix of curiosity and unease. The humans are now attempting to open diplomatic channels, Psyloth reported, his tentacles dancing across the ship's console. They are proposing a ceasefire and negotiations. Crozeth's brow ridges furrowed in contemplation. Interesting. It appears they have recognized the futility of direct confrontation, at least for the time being. Yet their resolve remains unbroken. Should we accept their overtures, Commander? Psyloth asked. We could use this opportunity to assert our dominance and demand their complete submission. Crozeth shook his head slowly. No, Psyloth. These humans have shown us something we have not encountered before, a willingness to adapt, to overcome overwhelming odds, and to fight for their freedom with an intensity that is both admirable and unsettling. We must understand them better before we can determine the appropriate course of action. He turned his gaze back to the blue-green planet, his mind racing with the implications of this first contact. Perhaps there is more to these humans than we had initially assumed. If we are to conquer them, we must first learn to respect them. With that, Crozeth issued the order to open diplomatic channels, setting the stage for a delicate dance between the two civilizations, where misunderstandings and cultural clashes would threaten to unravel a fragile peace. The tense negotiations between the human and alien delegations dragged on for weeks, with both sides struggling to find common ground. Colonel Emily Walters, leading the diplomatic team, quickly realized that the cultural divide between the two civilizations ran deeper than she had anticipated. They simply don't understand our values, our motivations, Walters confided to the President during a private briefing. These aliens, for all their technological superiority, operate on a fundamentally different set of assumptions about the nature of power, conflict, and the role of the individual. The President nodded grimly. And I take it they are equally perplexed by our unwillingness to submit to their demands. Precisely, sir, Walters replied. They view our refusal to surrender as a sign of weakness, rather than the fierce independence and determination that defines the human spirit. They cannot comprehend why we would fight so tenaciously for our freedom, even against an overwhelmingly powerful foe. Then we have reached an impasse, the president observed, and I fear that further diplomatic efforts may be futile. Walters hesitated, her brow furrowed in thought. Not necessarily, Mr. President. I believe that if we can find a way to demonstrate the true nature of human resolve and adaptability, we may be able to forge a path forward, one that acknowledges our differences, but also finds common ground. The president raised a questioning eyebrow. And how do you propose we do that? Walter's lips tightened into a determined smile. By showing them what we're capable of on the battlefield. Aboard the alien vessel, Crozath and Psyloth observed the continued stalemate in the diplomatic negotiations with growing unease. The humans refused to yield, even in the face of our superior technology. Psyloth lamented. Their stubbornness is both admirable and infuriating. Crozath's tentacles twitched with contemplation. Yes, and it is clear that our cultural differences are proving to be a significant barrier to any meaningful progress. We must find a way to bridge this divide, or risk a prolonged and costly conflict. Perhaps we should reconsider our stance and crush their resistance once and for all. Iloth suggested, his voice tinged with frustration. Their primitive military forces pose no real threat to us. Crozath shook his head. No, Xyloth. There is something about these humans that continues to intrigue me. Their resilience, their adaptability. It is unlike anything we have encountered before. I believe that if we can better understand the source of their strength, we may find a way to coexist, or even learn from them. Then what do you propose we do, Commander? Fyloth asked, his tone laden with skepticism. We will give them the opportunity to demonstrate their capabilities on the battlefield, Crozath declared. I will order a targeted strike against one of their key military installations. If the humans can withstand our assault and mount an effective counterattack, it may provide the insights we need to navigate this delicate situation. Psyloth's tentacles twitched with unease, but he nodded in acquiescence. As you command, Commander. I will prepare the strike force. Within hours, the alien vessel unleashed a barrage of devastating energy blasts, targeting a heavily fortified U.S. military base. The human defenders braced for the onslaught, but as the dust settled, they were stunned to find that their most advanced defensive systems had been rendered utterly useless against the alien technology. Colonel Walters watched the battle unfold with a mixture of horror and determination. All units, fall back and regroup. We need to understand how they did this and find a way to overcome their advantage. As the human forces regrouped and analyzed the battle footage, they began to uncover disturbing truths about the aliens' technological prowess and the limitations of their own military might. But amid the sobering realizations, they also discovered something else, a glimmer of hope in the form of their own unwavering spirit and adaptability. The stage was set for a confrontation that would forever alter the course of human history, as the aliens came to understand the true power of the human warrior. In the aftermath of the devastating alien attack on the U.S. military base, Colonel Emily Walters and her team of analysts pored over the battle footage, searching for any clues that could help turn the tide of the conflict. Their energy weapons neutralize our defensive systems with ease, Walters muttered, her brow furrowed in concentration. We need to find a way to counter that technology, or we won't stand a chance in a direct confrontation. One of the analysts, a young lieutenant named Sarah Chen, cleared her throat hesitantly. Ma'am, I think I may have identified a potential weakness in their targeting systems. If we can disrupt their sensor arrays, it might throw off their aim and give our troops a fighting chance. Walters turned to Chen, her eyes gleaming with renewed hope. Explain. As Chen laid out her theory, the rest of the team gathered around the holotable, their minds racing with possibilities. For the first time since the alien invasion, a glimmer of optimism began to take hold. All right, people, let's get to work, Walters announced, her voice firm and resolute. I want a full battle plan ready within the hour. We're going to show these aliens just how dangerous the human spirit can be. Aboard the alien vessel, Crozath and Xyloth pored over the recordings of the recent engagement, their tentacles twitching with a mixture of fascination and unease. The human forces were outmatched in every measurable way. Xyloth observed, his tone tinged with a hint of triumph. Yet they refused to surrender, even in the face of our overwhelming firepower. Krozeth nodded slowly, his eyes narrowing in contemplation. Yes, their determination is truly remarkable. Even in the face of certain defeat, they fought on, adapting their tactics and attempting to find weaknesses in our systems. Then why did we not simply annihilate them? Xyloth asked, his tentacles curling in frustration. Surely, with our superior technology, we could have crushed their resistance with ease. Krozeth raised a hand, silencing his subordinate. Because, Xyloth, I wish to better understand the nature of this human spirit. Their adaptability, their willingness to take risks and fight against insurmountable odds. It is a quality I have not encountered in any other species we have encountered. Xyloth's tentacles twitched with unease. But, Commander, if we do not act decisively, these humans may pose a genuine threat to our conquest. Surely their primitive weapons and tactics cannot hope to match the might of our civilization. Krozeth's gaze hardened, his tentacles tightening around the edge of the holotable. Do not underestimate them, Xyloth. The humans have already proven their ability to adapt and overcome. If we are to subjugate them, we must first understand them, their strengths, their weaknesses, and the driving forces that compel them to fight with such ferocity. He turned his attention back to the recordings, his mind racing with possibilities. Perhaps in studying them, we may even learn something about ourselves. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Colonel Walters and her team put the finishing touches on their plan, their eyes shining with a newfound determination. "All right, listen up," Walters announced, her voice cutting through the hushed murmurs of the assembled soldiers. "We've identified a weakness in the aliens' targeting systems. If we can disrupt their sensor arrays, it will throw off their aim and give us a fighting chance." A ripple of excitement ran through the crowd as the soldiers realized that they finally had a glimmer of hope against their formidable foes. "This is our chance to show these aliens the true power of the human spirit," Walters continued, her gaze sweeping across the faces of her troops. "We may be outmatched in technology, but we have something they can never hope to possess: the fierce determination to fight for our freedom, no matter the cost." The soldiers erupted into a chorus of cheers and battle cries, their resolve hardened by Walter's words. As they filed out to take their positions, the colonel couldn't help but feel a surge of pride, knowing that the fate of humanity rested on the shoulders of these extraordinary men and women. The stage was set for a confrontation that would forever change the course of the conflict, as the aliens prepared to witness the true nature of the human warrior. The air crackled with tension as the human forces prepared to confront the alien invaders once again. Colonel Emily Walters stood at the command center, her eyes fixed on the holotable as the final battle plan was executed. "All units, commence operation," she ordered, her voice calm and steady. "Remember, our objective is to disrupt their sensor arrays and throw off their targeting systems. Once we've done that, it's up to you to show these aliens the true power of the human spirit." The assembled soldiers saluted sharply, their faces etched with determination, and rushed to their positions. Across the globe, coordinated strikes were launched, with teams of specially trained soldiers infiltrating key alien installations and deploying a series of high-tech electronic countermeasures. Aboard the alien vessel, Krozeth and Xyloth watched the unfolding events with a mixture of fascination and growing unease. "The human forces are engaging our outposts," Xyloth reported, his tentacles twitching with alarm. "Their tactics seem to be focused on disrupting our sensor arrays." Krozeth's brow ridges furrowed in contemplation. "Interesting. They have clearly studied our weaknesses and are attempting to negate our technological advantage. This is a bold and unexpected maneuver. We should destroy them immediately," Xyloth urged, his voice tinged with frustration. "Their primitive weapons pose no real threat to us." Krozeth held up a tentacle, silencing his subordinate. "No, Xylov. I want to see how they respond to this challenge. If they can effectively disrupt our sensors, it may provide valuable insight into the nature of their adaptability and problem-solving abilities." Xylov's tentacles curled in reluctant acquiescence. "As you wish, Commander, but I fear that this hesitation may prove costly." As the alien vessel's targeting systems faltered, the human forces launched a series of daring attacks, striking with a ferocity and coordination that the aliens had not anticipated. Colonel Walters watched the unfolding battle with a mixture of pride and trepidation. "That's it. Keep it up. Maintain the pressure and don't let them reestablish their targeting capabilities." Across the battlefield, the human soldiers fought with a tenacity that belied their technological disadvantage. They maneuvered with agility, exploiting the aliens' temporary blindness to deliver devastating strikes against their vulnerable systems. Crozeth observed the humans' performance with a growing sense of awe and unease. "Remarkable. They are adapting to the situation with remarkable speed, using their superior mobility and coordination to offset our technological superiority." Xylov's tentacles twitched with increasing anxiety. "Commander, we are sustaining significant damage. If this continues, our position will become untenable. We must retaliate with lethal force before it is too late." Crozeth considered his subordinate's words, then shook his head slowly. "No, Xylov. I want to see the full extent of their capabilities. If they can overcome this challenge and mount an effective counterattack, it may provide the key to understanding their true nature." As the battle raged on, the human forces continued to push the advantage, their adaptability and resourcefulness shining through. They anticipated the aliens' attempts to regain control of their systems, constantly shifting their tactics to keep their foes off balance. Colonel Walters felt a surge of pride as she witnessed her troops in action. "That's it. Keep it up. Show these aliens the true power of the human spirit." The human soldiers fought with a ferocity that belied their technological disadvantage, their determination and adaptability proving to be the deciding factors in the engagement. Crozeth watched the unfolding events with a mix of fascination and growing unease. "Xylov, prepare to disengage. It is clear that these humans possess qualities that we have vastly underestimated." As the alien vessel began to retreat, Crozeth's tentacles tightened around the edge of the holotable. "We have much to learn about the nature of the human warrior. This encounter has revealed truths that we cannot ignore." The human forces, battered but victorious, cheered and embraced one another, their spirits buoyed by the realization that they had proven their worth against a technologically superior foe. Colonel Walters surveyed the scene, her expression grim but resolute. "This is only the beginning. We've shown these aliens that humanity will not be conquered without a fight. Now it's time to prepare for the next round." The stage was set for a prolonged and increasingly complex confrontation, as the humans and aliens grappled with the revelations of their encounter and the true nature of their respective strengths and weaknesses. In the aftermath of the decisive human victory, an uneasy silence settled over the planet. The alien vessel had retreated, but its ominous presence continued to loom over the Earth, a constant reminder of the fragile truce that had been forged. Colonel Emily Walters stood at the command center, her gaze fixed on the holotable as her team analyzed the battle footage. "We gave them a hell of a beating, but I get the feeling this is just the calm before the storm." The president, who had been closely monitoring the developments, nodded solemnly. "I agree, Colonel. These aliens may have retreated, but they won't stay away for long. They've seen what we're capable of, and I suspect they're regrouping to devise a new strategy." Walters sighed, her brow furrowed with concern. "Sir, I believe our only option is to continue our efforts on the diplomatic front. We need to find a way to reach an understanding with these aliens before the conflict escalates further." The president considered her words, then nodded slowly. "Very well. Colonel, I'll authorize you to lead the diplomatic team once again. But make no mistake, if these negotiations fail, we will have no choice but to respond with the full force of our military might." Walters saluted sharply. "Understood, Mr. President. I'll do everything in my power to find a peaceful resolution to this crisis." Aboard the alien vessel, Krozeth and Psyloth debriefed their crew, their tentacles twitching with a mix of unease and contemplation. "The humans proved more resilient than we anticipated," Krozeth admitted, his voice tinged with a rare hint of respect. "Their adaptability and coordination on the battlefield were truly remarkable." Psyloth's tentacles curled in frustration. "And yet, we were forced to retreat. These humans should have been no match for our superior technology. I still believe we should have annihilated them when we had the chance." Krozeth raised a hand, silencing his subordinate. "No, Psyloth. To do so would have been a grave mistake. These humans possess qualities that we cannot simply ignore or dismiss. If we are to conquer them, we must first understand them, their motivations, their strengths, and the very core of their being." Psyloth's tentacles twitched with unease. "And how do you propose we accomplish that, Commander?" "Clearly, our attempts at diplomacy have been met with stubborn resistance." Krozeth's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. "We must approach this with a new perspective. Rather than demand their submission, we should seek to find common ground, to establish a dialogue that fosters mutual understanding." "But what if they refuse?" Psyloth pressed, his voice laced with frustration. "What if they continue to defy us, even in the face of our technological superiority?" Krozeth's tentacles tightened around the edge of the holotable. "Then we will have no choice but to use force. But I hope it does not come to that. These humans have shown us that they are worthy of our respect, and if we can find a way to coexist, it may lead to a future of unprecedented cooperation and growth for both our civilizations." Psyloth's tentacles twitched with uncertainty, but he nodded in acquiescence. "As you wish, Commander. I will prepare to reopen diplomatic channels with the human representatives." Back on Earth, Colonel Walters and her team of diplomats eagerly awaited the aliens' response, their nerves taut with anticipation. "Do you really think they'll be willing to negotiate in good faith this time, Colonel?" one of the aides asked, his voice tinged with skepticism. Walters offered a wry smile. "I'm not sure, to be honest. But I have to believe that what we've shown them on the battlefield has shaken their confidence in their ability to simply subjugate us. If we can appeal to their curiosity, their desire to understand us better, maybe we can find a way to coexist without resorting to all-out war." The aide nodded slowly, his brow furrowed in thought. "I hope you're right, ma'am. The fate of our species may depend on it." As the diplomatic team prepared to engage with their alien counterparts once more, the weight of the world seemed to rest upon their shoulders. The future of humanity hung in the balance, and the outcome of these delicate negotiations would determine whether the two civilizations would forge a path towards cooperation or plunge headlong into a devastating conflict. The renewed diplomatic talks between the human and alien delegations were tense, but this time, there was a newfound sense of mutual respect underlying the proceedings. Colonel Emily Walters, leading the human team, could feel the subtle shift in the aliens' demeanor. Where before there had been arrogance and dismissal, now there was a palpable curiosity and a willingness to engage in genuine discourse. "We've come a long way since our first encounter," Walters began, her gaze sweeping across the alien diplomats. "Our peoples have much to learn from one another, and I believe that if we approach this with open minds and a genuine desire to understand, we may find a path forward that benefits us both." Krozeth, the alien commander who had led the initial invasion, nodded slowly. "Colonel Walters, your words are wise. We, too, have come to appreciate the unique qualities of your species, your resilience, your adaptability, and your unwavering determination to defend your freedom." He paused, his tentacles twitching with contemplation. "It is these very traits that have caused us to reevaluate our initial assumptions about your kind. We had believed that by virtue of our technological superiority, we could simply subjugate your people and assimilate you into our civilization. But you have shown us that the human spirit cannot be so easily broken." Psyloth, Krozath's second-in-command shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his tentacles curling with a mixture of unease and reluctant acceptance. "What you are proposing, Krozath, is a radical departure from our traditional methods of conquest," Dyloth interjected, his voice tinged with skepticism. "How can we be certain that the humans will not simply turn on us the moment we lower our guard?" Walters leaned forward, her gaze unwavering. "We understand your concerns, Psylov, but I can assure you that the people of Earth have no desire for wanton violence or conquest. We simply wish to live in peace, to explore the wonders of the cosmos, and to expand our knowledge and understanding of the universe." She paused, her lips quirking into a faint smile. "Of course, we will not hesitate to defend ourselves if provoked. But if we can find a way to coexist, to share our respective knowledge and technologies, I believe the rewards would be truly extraordinary." Krozath nodded, his tentacles unfurling in a gesture of agreement. "Well said, Colonel Walters. And that is precisely what we hope to achieve through these negotiations. A mutually beneficial alliance that acknowledges our differences, but also recognizes our shared potential." The discussions continued, with both sides carefully navigating the delicate balance between their competing interests and aspirations. It was a slow and painstaking process, fraught with moments of tension and uncertainty, but gradually, a path forward began to emerge. As the talks drew to a close, Walters and Krozath shook their respective limbs, sealing the agreement that would chart the course of the two civilizations' relationship for generations to come. "This is merely the beginning, Krozath," Walters said, her voice tinged with a mixture of hope and caution. "We have much work ahead of us, but I believe that if we approach this partnership with the same determination and adaptability that has defined our peoples, we can achieve greatness." Krozath's tentacles twitched with a sense of newfound purpose. "Indeed, Colonel Walters. And we, in turn, have much to learn from you and your people. The future that lies before us is one of limitless possibilities, if we have the courage to embrace it." As the alien vessel departed, its once ominous presence now a symbol of the fragile, but promising, alliance that had been forged, Colonel Walters stood tall, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "Welcome to the new age of human-alien cooperation," she murmured, a faint smile playing on her lips. "The stars are ours to explore, and the future is ours to shape." The story of the humans' encounter with the alien invaders had come full circle, from a clash of cultures to a partnership forged in mutual understanding and respect. It was a testament to the enduring strength of the human spirit, and a promise of a future where the divisions between civilizations could be overcome, and the true wonders of the cosmos could be unlocked.